So I was like, okay God, I hear you. Say words like vagina. Don't do that. I had to have a little cry. Hi, my name is Emily. I am 28 years old and this is going to be my fertility journey. Before I get started into the actual story of my fertility, I wanted to talk a little bit about how I came to be making this video. So this is actually the second time that I filmed this video. I did film it a couple weeks ago and I'm refilming it because we are at a little bit of a different place right now than we were fertility wise. But the reason I didn't post that video after I had made it was because I got a little bit nervous and I was like, oh, is this kind of dumb? Is anybody gonna even care? And then as we got to the place that we are now, I was feeling overwhelmed with emotion and I posted it on Instagram. It's a little less intimidating than YouTube because I'm mostly just friends with my people I know in real life on there. And just from posting that, the outpouring of love that I got from people telling me they were praying for me and rooting for me, people I know, people I don't know were reaching out to me, and that meant so much. And so I had a quiet moment where I was just with myself and I was praying about it. Putting this out there felt good. It felt right. It felt like what I should be doing, and maybe I should share my story. Maybe it will do good to share my story, and maybe this struggle is for a greater purpose. And after I had that quiet moment, you know, the next time I checked my phone after that, I had a friend reach out to me and she said, you should really do YouTube. Your positivity and everything can be really inspirational for people, whether they're going through this struggle or, you know, different struggles that everybody goes through. So I was like, okay God, I hear you. Then I decided, well, I should probably refilm because things have changed. So just fair warning, fertility journeys, they're of course very personal, and I will, you know, in order to tell this story, I do have to talk a little bit about my sex life, talk a little bit about my body, and say words like vagina, so period. So if those kind of things make you uncomfortable, definitely this is not the right space for you. And if you're my close family, relative, and do not want to hear about my sex life, I completely understand because I probably don't want to hear about yours, but this is probably not a video that you want to watch of mine. So I'll just jump right in. So my fertility journey probably starts when I got my first period, which was when I was 14 years old. And I know that I was lying to everybody and telling them that I had my period before I did, because I was embarrassed that I was the only person who had not gotten their period yet. Started at 14, I was always a regular and always had a pretty heavy flow. When I was 18, I went on birth control. I went to the gynecologist for the first time, and I did get checked for fibroids because I do have a genetic predisposition for them. They wanted to make sure that my heavy flow wasn't caused by that, but that all came back fine. I started on the birth control pill, and my body had a really hard time with the pill. For somebody who had never had acne, I started breaking out like crazy. Over the 9 months that I was on the birth control pill, I gained 50 pounds, and I was like emotionally unwell, and I'm sure that I just wasn't on the right pill for me, and I definitely should have advocated for myself and tried to find something that was a better fit, but I was also 18 years old, so I decided that it wasn't working for me, not because I was suffering from the side effects, but because I wasn't very good at remembering to take it, so it wasn't really doing what it was supposed to do for me because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. And then I switched over to the NuvaRing, and I had a really bad reaction to that, which is a little ring that you put by your cervix, and it puts hormones directly there. And my body, like my vaginal opening, like sealed shut, which is very weird. I have seen people talk about it like on forums, but I never seen it like anywhere that's actually like doctors, you know, saying that this could happen. But I had no elasticity in my vagina anymore, and I tried it for a cycle. I wore it for the 3 weeks, took it out, had my period, and then put the second one back in, and then I was like, wait, this is actually the worst. And I took it out at that point and was like, okay, I'm done with that. So then after that point, I was like, okay, I've had 2 bad experiences with hormones, so I'm not gonna be on any contraceptive. And my now husband and I at that time just started using condoms, but we weren't really perfect about using condoms, and before long we just started using the withdrawal method, which if you're a young person watching this video, please do not do that. The only reason I think we didn't get pregnant between the ages of like 19 and you know, when we got married was because I had all these underlying issues, but it's not a smart idea to do it. So don't do that. From that time when I stopped taking contraceptives, which were regulating my periods, I stopped having cycles. I would go like 4 to 6 months without cycles. I saw 3 different gynecologists during that time just because I was living one place and then I moved to a different place and I was in school. So I saw my campus gynecologist and I saw my regular, you know, one that I had started seeing before going to college, and then a new one, and all 3 of them were like, oh, you're fine. You know, so I was like, guess I'm fine, even though I never thought it was right that I wasn't getting cycles. Tim and I moved into a house together, and in the city where we live, I decided, you know, to find a new gynecologist, and she is really great. So at this time, I'm like 23 years old. She was like, what, you're not getting periods? Like 3 times a year? That is bad. And she was like, okay, we're gonna give you periods if you have such a high level of estrogen in your body, and not going through cycles where your progesterone spikes and your estrogen is able to go down, and then you get a period, is not good. You have higher chance of developing breast cancer, and basically all the other like female cancers, uterine cancer, ovarian cancer. He started me on a progesterone pill, which increased my progesterone enough so that it signaled my estrogen to go down, and that gave me my cycle. So it wasn't birth control, it's called Provera, and it's just 10 days of progesterone, which is just enough to give you a cycle if your only issue is that you have high estrogen and your estrogen is too high for your progesterone to kind of compete to tell it to go down. Luckily, that was all that I needed to get cycles, which is good. I am diagnosed with PCOS. I was diagnosed when I was 19 years old, basically right after I like gained all that weight, and it was not coming off. I went to a couple different doctors. I went to my pediatrician, I went to a gynecologist, and I went to an endocrinologist, and all 3 of them agreed on the diagnosis of PCOS, although I was tested for a lot of different things because everybody was really confused about what was going on. And PCOS is kind of a diagnosis that you get when nothing else fits. I have some of the classic signs of it. I have a lot of hair growth, and I have high estrogen, which leads to, you know, it being very hard to lose weight. I do have cysts in my ovaries, but sometimes they're there, sometimes they're gone. So I don't have like the classic cysts of PCOS, which is where you have a lot of cysts all around. In July of 2019, my husband and I got married, and immediately we started trying the honeymoon. We were, you know, going right into trying, and once we got home from the honeymoon, I started doing all the things you're supposed to do to track ovulation. So I was taking my temperature, I was checking cervical mucus, all those things. Like, I wanted to be pregnant straight away. and I was gonna do, you know, all the things to try and make that happen. But also during this time, so my wedding was such a crazy time, as most married girls would probably agree, and I was so busy that month that I didn't take my Provera. I still got a cycle, and from then on I consulted with my doctor, and she was like, if you're still getting a cycle without it, then good, don't take it. And so I would get cycles every 4 to 6 weeks, so I wasn't having, you know, 28-day regular cycles, but I was much more frequently than I was beforehand. That was good news. October of 2019, when I hadn't been pregnant for 2 cycles, which is not very much, but I was very eager, I went to my doctor and I was like, is there anything we can do? And she's like, since you have a diagnosis of PCOS, we can do a hormone panel and see what's going on. And so they found out that I had not ovulated at that time, so I had to wait another cycle. So then December of 2019 we did like the Clomid test, but we actually did a letrozole test. Letrozole just tends to work better for people with PCOS, and so during that they gave me letrozole, and that was supposed to stimulate my follicle stimulating hormone and induce an ovulation, but I was using ovulation predictor kits and I never got a positive ovulation, so I don't think that it worked. And then 2020 hit. Basically, once the world kind of fell apart, Tim and I stopped trying. So by my doctor's definition of trying, it is having sex every other day, and neither of us were just in a mental place to do that, you know, be tracking everything and be so regimented by it, because the world was like upside down. We were still, you know, having unprotected sex. We weren't preventing. We were just kind of seeing where things went. And then I stopped getting my periods. So I was no longer taking the Provera, as I said, but I had been getting them every 4 to 6 weeks from July until February. And then once February hit, I did not get a cycle until July of 2020, but my doctor just randomly called me to check in, and I was like, yeah, I haven't been getting my cycles, and she was like, okay, this is not good. She put me back on Provera, and it worked again like it had, so that was good. And then maybe like October of 2020, I went and got an HSG test. They check your fallopian tubes and your uterus, and that revealed that I had a blockage in my fallopian tube, my right fallopian tube, which was devastating at the time, because I knew that I had hormonal issues already, and it didn't even cross my mind that I might have a physical problem as well. The doctor kind of said, oh, we're gonna do this test, we're gonna get this out of the way so we just clear that and we can move on to the next thing. And then it was a big red stop sign that things were not okay, and my doctor said, oh, I think we'll have to remove your fallopian tube, but she wasn't sure, and she sent me to a fertility specialist. And he is great. I am really loving this process with him so far. He's really positive. Also during that time, she sent my gynecologist sent my husband to get tested, and everything came back super duper for him, which is great because I would have been so sad if he had a problem too. So I'm so grateful that he is fine. He is actually beyond fine. He is really good in that area, so good for us there. Then my fertility specialist doctor gave me a transvaginal ultrasound. They found out that my uterine lining is very thick, so he induced a period, and then I had my period. Then I went in for a saline infused sonogram, or a SIS. And what that does is they put saline inside your uterus, and they're able to see if there's anything in there when it's all filled up. And in that, they found that I have endometrial polyps. So that basically catches you up to today. That's where I'm at. I just found out that news on Friday, so I am definitely still processing it, and I wasn't able to see my doctor that day or get any answers about what's gonna happen. I do know that I'm going to need a procedure probably within the next 2 weeks that will remove that, and I'll be sure to bring you guys along for that journey. I think I was a little bit more prepared for something to be wrong because something had already gone wrong with my fallopian tube, so I was like, okay, I guess there could be more things that are wrong. So I definitely handled that news a lot better. But that's what I had posted about on Instagram. So that kind of led me to right here making this video for you guys. I do know that the procedure requires me to be under sedation or anesthesia, but I've already been under anesthesia. I got my gallbladder removed, and I got my wisdom teeth removed, and they said it's somewhere like in between those two things, the amount that you're under. So hopefully that all goes fine. I will gladly accept any prayers that you guys would be so gracious to send me, any good vibes, any baby dust, whatever you guys want to send. I am so grateful to get those things from you. And for everybody who has already reached out to me and gave me so much love, like, you don't even know how much that means to me. Like, when I woke up this morning and I saw all those messages, I had to have a little cry because it was just so touching to me. And yeah, your words mean so much. So thank you again, and thank you to everybody who watched this video, and I will update you as soon as I can. All right, bye.